Imagine if something as simple as going to the library had the potential to cause you stress, anxiety, embarrassment, even a panic attack. For people with autism, their local library can be a vital resource as long as that library follows a few simple steps to make sure it is autism friendly. Research shows that people with autism are more likely than the general public to visit libraries and to visit them twice as often. There are around 700,000 people in the UK living with autism today. That's more than 1 in 100. More than 90% of those people would visit the library more often if some changes were made. Dimensions is a social care provider for people with autism and learning disabilities. It also runs autism-friendly screenings with the UK's 4 major cinema chains. In this video, you'll learn from them and from several families with children with autism how to make things better in your library.
I think more people are aware of autism, but I also feel that when you see a lot of autistic people on TV, say for instance, a lot of high function autism or Asperger's type autism, and you just, I think people, when they still see somebody like Joe who's got like a classic autism, he still gets a lot of people staring at him. And I tried to explain to people that Joe had autism, and I used to apologise if he was being loud. I just found libraries used to get a lot of people looking, a lot of people tooting, especially when, say, I had two young children with me. And in the end I just found it wasn't a place really that I could come and have a nice experience.
People have said that, I've had comments that he's rude because he's very abrupt and he doesn't use the social niceties that people expect. Because if he's reading or doing other things, you won't necessarily get a response, but he's listening. Similarly, if he goes to take books out and things, his communication may not be what they expect, so just a little bit of patience.
Where he can't concentrate and gets very agitated, so
snappy.
It's just not fair, so we just leave. Whether we've got books to borrow or not, we just leave.
First, let's learn a bit about autism. Autism affects everyone differently, but a doctor diagnosing autism will be looking for some very specific things present from an early age: difficulties in communication and social interaction, restricted, repetitive patterns of behaviour, activities or interests, symptoms that are not better explained by delayed development or intellectual impairment. Here's how you can help. The number one thing that people with autism told us would make a difference was staff sensitivity and understanding. Autism is a hidden disability. You can't always tell if someone has it, and people sometimes wrongly think that the person is simply behaving poorly. People with autism and those with them can easily feel judged. Simply be kind and don't judge. Asking what you can do to help makes a huge difference. Communication is so important. When talking to the person, talk to them, not the person with them. Find out and use their name and tell them yours. Ask how you can help. A little effort goes a long way. Try to avoid broad, open-ended questions such as, what sort of books do you like? It's much better to be more precise. Shall I show you where the non-fiction books are? And remember, people with autism have very variable communication skills themselves. Get to know them and find out what works best for them. It is often said that if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. Autism affects everyone differently. However, some people can get easily overstimulated. This can cause a variety of different behaviours as the person is trying to cope with their environment. It's completely normal. You should ignore it, unless they're damaging property or putting themselves or others at risk of harm, in which case you may need to intervene or offer additional support. Or ideally, if you have a safe, quiet space, ask if they would like to use it. Quiet or private space makes a huge difference. If you can, Also designate a room as a private room, a space where people with autism can wind down following a difficult time or find some quiet space. But as we said, autism affects people differently, and the addition of a sensory space with low lighting, interesting textures and calm music represents a real gold standard. You'll need expert support to create this type of environment. For many people, the number one cause of sensory overload is noise. Libraries are generally quiet places, and this is one of the reasons for their popularity for people with autism. But there's a twist. Many people with autism need a quiet environment, but make noise themselves. People might talk to themselves or others. They are easily excitable. They might move around. You should make it clear that your library is autism friendly, and that includes tolerance of certain levels of noise. Lack of public awareness is a major reason for people with autism feeling excluded from the library. A critical part of being autism friendly is to advertise it. Posters and a range of other materials are available to help you tell your visitors that the library is autism friendly. Many people with autism hate uncertainty. They need to have absolute confidence before entering an environment about where to go, what to do, and what the schedule is. You can really help them and the person who supports them in this area. Have a map of your library available on your website and on the front door. Signpost the different sections using visual imagery rather than just words. Make sure you signpost the toilets, access to drinking water, quiet or private space in the same way. And have a social story, a simple guide to the library and its rules, available at the front desk. Here's a few more important suggestions. You'll need to signpost many of these things. Have ear defenders available at the counter. If you can, take out or turn off hand dryers. Allow people with autism to queue jump if necessary. Ensure there is access to water. Create access to computers in a private area. Produce a fun play space that isn't just for toddlers. Open spaces with minimal clutter. Last but not least, consider changing the lighting. Normal strip lighting can be painful for many people with autism. Turning the lighting down or installing autism-friendly lighting can make a huge difference. You might also want to consider running dedicated autism-friendly sessions. Dedicated autism-friendly sessions would give people confidence that they are not being judged, that they are in a safe environment, and that people understand their needs.
I think you can't stop people doing what they need to do for their sensory needs. I used to feel that we used to try and stop Joe flapping, bouncing, doing all these things, but we realised over time that he needs to do these things. We cannot stop him. So if there is somebody who's, say, having a bit of a moment, you can't really step in and stop them. You just have to let them ride it out, and then after that they'll be a lot calmer. So I think it's just educating people that autistic people, although we try and get them to conform as much as possible, they have to still be allowed to be themselves. And if that means just letting off a little bit of steam occasionally, then just obviously have to let them do that. So just educating people that it's just part of the condition. It's not that they're doing it to be noisy or to be sort of disrespectful to anybody else. It's just that what they have to do. And obviously everybody's got different stimming, you call it.
With just a few careful adaptations, you can help people with autism have a really positive experience when they visit their library. Why not take the first steps today? Download the promotional material and make sure all your library staff and volunteers have watched this training film and read the top tips.